Greetings, I'm Ted Simpson, and as I mentioned in Activity 4-1, the free vSphere Hypervisor is a great way for an organization to virtualize a small data center consisting of 1 or 2 servers. In this demonstration, I'll be walking through the steps of Activity 4-4 to show you how to install the free vSphere ESXi Hypervisor, which you download in Activity 4-1, into a virtual machine. You'll then be able to experiment with it in later activities. Well, let's get started. So as you can see, we've started VMware Workstation 12 Player, and at the home screen we're now going to click Create a New Virtual Machine as described in Step 2. Next, we'll click the Installer Disk Image option, and then click the Browse button in order to go to the VMware 6 ISO file right here, which we downloaded in Activity 4-1. And then we'll click Open. Once we've selected the file, we'll see that ESXi 6 is detected. Then, as described in Step 5, we'll click Next to continue. This brings us to the Name the Virtual Machine window. And again, as described in Step 5, we're going to type a name into our virtual machine name text box. In this case, we're going to type in ESXi 6 and our initials. And we're going to save it in a default location in this case, so we can click Next. This brings us to Step 6 in the Specified Disk Capacity window. So we'll leave the default right now of 40 gigabytes, and we'll click to store as a single file, and then click Next as described in Step 6. We now have our summary screen. We'll look that over, and as in Step 7, we'll click Finish to start the installation process. At this point, we may get some messages such as the removable device message here. I'll just click OK to continue. The system will now go through the installation process, loading a number of different components. Once the installation is finished, as described in Step 8, you'll see the Welcome to VMware ESX 6.0 or 6.5, whatever you're installing, window. So at this time, we're going to click in this window in order to turn control of the virtual machine, and then we can press Enter to continue. And in this case, we want to accept the license agreement, so we'll press the F11 key as described in Step 11. The system will now start scanning the virtual machine here for any available devices. We'll see the local disk come up as described in Step 12. Press Enter again to continue. We'll take the default keyboard settings. In this case, we'll use US default. Press Enter. And then we have a chance to enter our root password. Now, because it is a Linux kernel, root is the administrator name. So in this case, we're entering in a password for our root user, which will be the supervisor, if you will, of the Linux kernel. So I'll put in a password here and make sure they match, and press Enter to continue. Again, the system is scanned, and we now have a chance to confirm the installation, and as described in Step 15, we'll press Enter. If we want to continue here, we should press F11. So as described in Step 15, I'm going to press F11. and it will continue the installation process. This is another process. It'll take a few minutes to complete. So again, if you want to get up a stretch, this is a good time to do that. That brings us to step 16. When the installation process is finished, installation complete message box is displayed. Now if you're using a DVD, at this point we'd remove the DVD from the drive. Since we're using an ISO file, however, we can remove the ISO file from its connection. Again, we'll hit Control-Alt to return the control to the keyboard here. And once we've done that, we're going to go to the Player menu of VMware Player. And then we're going to click on Manage. And then we'll go to Virtual Machine Settings. We'll click on our DVD drive and we'll just tell it to go to the physical drive since that's empty. We can then click OK. We'll now click in the ESX hosts window here and then press enter. This will cause the server to reboot as described there in step 17 and 18. The system is now rebooting and loading all the modules. We come up with the user interface screen. Okay, now we're on step 18, and when the host restarts, we can now click in the window if you have removed the cursor, then press F2, and then notice that our login name is root, and then we're going to enter the password which we originally set up back in step 14. And then press enter. This will bring us to then the system console screen. We'll be using this in a later activity to set up our management network and configure other parts of our system. Then we're going to escape out of the menu, and then we're going to go to F12, and in order to shut down we've got to put our password in again and press enter. We'll now press the F2 key to start the shutdown. Once the shutdown is complete, when using Workstation Player, you'll return back to your Windows screen. The Workstation Player will exit. In summary then, during this demonstration I performed the following steps. First, we used VMware Workstation Player and then selected the option to create a new virtual machine. We then used the installer disk option and selected the ISO file that we downloaded in Activity 4-1. Next, we followed the steps to install the ESXi host. After the new ESXi host was installed, we rebooted, and then we used the F2 key along with our username and password to open up the system customization menu and looked at some of the options which we'll be using in later activities. Finally, we used the F12 key, again entered our username, root, and password in order to properly perform a shutdown of the ESXi host. Well, I hope you found this demonstration beneficial. Until next time then, may your future ventures be successful.